Okay, so it's fender time today. Gonna be working on the two front fenders and possibly the front cowl here. I got the car primed, and according to Eastwood, I gotta wait 2 to 3 days to be able to lay any Bondo over that epoxy. So I gotta wait 2-3 days for that to cure up. So I'm gonna be working on this stuff here, get the fenders ready hopefully. Now this one fender here is a new reproduction fender. I believe Dad got this from year 1. It's in good shape. There's a little bit of a, I don't know if you can be able to see it there, but a little bit of a deal here. Kind of hammered and dollied it a little bit. Might need a little bit of body work there. But other than that, this thing is really ready to go. It's I'm going to run 120 over the whole thing, I think, and then epoxy prime it when I prime this one, just to get it the same as the other one. Going to be undercoating behind these fenders with undercoating. Same with this one. This one will probably have to be cleaned up a little bit and then undercoated. But this one here, brand new fender, it's actually ready to go. I just got to clean it up, wipe it down. This fender is not new. This is original to the car, and it's gonna need some work. It's got a few dings in it. Right there, I believe. It's got a little ding here, a little ding there, and little ding there. And it's had some rust repair. Dad did this panel, did that panel. It needs a little more. Not sure why he didn't get to that, but he cut this out last night. I got to fill it in now with a new piece. It was rusted, so I got to do that today before I do anything. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. Fenders. This new fender is actually pretty decent. I mean, it seems to line up with the front end really good, and it's got primer on it already. Okay, so when you get a new fender like this and it comes primed, and you want to know if this primer is good enough to actually leave on there and use as a base, take some lacquer thinner, get it on a rag, and wipe the fender with it. And if you don't get anything, if this paint doesn't come off with the lacquer thinner, you're good to go. I got a little bit of dirt on there, but this fender's dirty, but the primer is not coming off. So that means that this is okay to leave on there, and I'm just going to prime over this, and I won't have to strip this off. So it doesn't surprise me that this primer is good on this fender. This was considered a premium fender when Dad bought it. A lot of times you run into problems with cheap primer when you go to a cheap fender. I guess you get what you pay for on these fenders. So that's with fit and finish, and with the primer coating that it comes with. Okay, so I got my little area ground down here. Got my little patch piece made out of some sheet metal we had laying around. It's going to fit in like that, and I'm just going to weld it up. Also, before I weld this on, putting a coat of weld through primer on the inside where I'm Gonna be welding. Also on my patch on the inside, I've also put the weld through on. While I'm waiting for that weld through to dry, I just went over my fender here, the new fender, with 120 grit. What that's going to do is allowed me to kind of look the fender over real good and look for low spots and high spots on it. And the only thing I really found is right here, and I knew that it came that way. I don't know, there was an indentation or a dent from the inside. I body worked it so it's a little bit low now. So we'll probably smear a little filler on there when I get some time here, waiting for the other fender to dry or whatever. And everything else looks really good. I don't see anything other than that on this fender, so going to get back to this patch here on this fender. We'll get that welded in. Okay, so there's my finished repair there. A little bit of filler on that. You'll never even know I was in there. I believe now, I said this before, but I believe now the rust repair and the welding is done on this car. Okay, so I got a low spot right here on the fender. I've used my stud welder to weld some studs on here. I'm going to I got the fenders done here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip them over. All I got to do is clean out the inside of the new fender. And then I got to flip this one over and I got to maybe do some wire wheeling. It's pretty clean under there. I'll show you once I flip it over, but it's pretty clean. Do a little bit of wire wheeling and then I'm going to fast etch. Use that Eastwood rust converter on the inside of this fender. Hopefully by the end of the day I will have both these fenders undercoated on the inside. So I just wanted to give you guys a look on the inside of this original fender. And I mean, you can see this thing. This has not been cleaned out or anything. This is original GM primer there. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I mean, there was some rust out, but that happened behind these panels that are doubled up. So, pretty amazing for a 70 Fender to be this clean. So, like I said, just a little bit of wire wheeling here and there to get this thing cleaned up. Then I'm going to use that fast etch from Eastwood. Probably mainly focusing on these bottom areas of the fender. Okay, so I got a little Bondo on the fender here. Also have started treating the inside of the fender there with Eastwood's fast etch. So that's looking good. I got it set on its side there so the access can kind of drain off. Otherwise it was kind of pooling up when it was upside down, so. I'm going to probably flip that down on its side again so it can drain out if there's any excess on. And we'll have to wait for that to dry out so we can undercoat it. While I'm waiting for that, I'm going to start sanding out this Bondo here, or body filler. It was just a really small little tiny dent here. Most of that filler is going to end up on the ground right now. So I'm going to get to it. Okay, so I got the fast etch happening on the front side of the fender. Figured why not, I gotta flip it over anyway, might as well get it done with. Then I've been working over here on this fender, sanding that Bondo out. You can see there ain't much left of it. I'll go into more detail, I guess, on that later on. This is just a small spot, I just kind of wanted to get it done. But these are the tools I used, a long board. You usually want to use the longest sanding board you can to level something out. It's gonna give you the best results. I got my 120 in that, kind of just sanding it, the 80 grit out a little bit before I do the epoxy on there. But I started out with the 80 grit on the DA just to kind of knock it down quick. But it's something you really got to play with, body work. I'm not an expert. This is just a hobby for me. But okay, so I've been working with these fenders, trying to get them undercoated. The new fender went awesome. I just taped it up and undercoated it, and I was done with it. The old fender, I've been struggling here. I put that Eastwood's fast etch on this thing. And I don't know if I didn't wipe it off fast enough or I left it on there too long or whatever, but it's, I've been having to wait for this thing to dry. It's kind of got a film on it. It still has a film on it. The tape won't stick to it. I've been trying to clean it off with brake clean and prep all, and I might have to go after it with some lacquer thinner. I've just been concentrating on the inside so I can get this thing undercoated and flip it over and be done with that. So I've been working with the inside here, and I think I finally got it. So first coat of undercoating going on here. So hopefully in about 5 minutes or so I'll put my last coat, second coat on this thing. Okay, final coat on the fender, and I'm using this 3M stuff, and the only thing I don't like about it is there's not a whole lot in this can. Basically 1 can per fender is all I'm getting. So, I mean, it's spraying really nice, but doesn't seem like there's a whole lot in the can. So, I'm gonna let this thing dry, and we'll start working on the other side of these fenders. Okay, so moving forward here, I've got this front panel already. Got some Bondo on a dent there. Working on this top side of this other fender. You can see I got some body filler in some areas where there's some dings and dents, so I'm gonna start sanding them out right now. so I got all my smaller dings taken care of on the fender. Smaller dings are fairly easy to work on. I'm actually on my third application of filler here on these areas. The bigger the area, the harder it is to work out. So I'm just trying to get these areas close. I've got to do an epoxy over this and then more body work. So this is by no means the last of the body work on here. Just trying to take care of the major stuff here. Get a lot of it filled in before I do my epoxy, and then we'll keep going after that. So until these are straight enough. So I gotta let this sit for 20-30 minutes or whatever until it can be sanded, and I'll keep on sanding. You can see most of the filler here is on the floor, and that's what happens. So I'm gonna keep on sanding. Fourth coat of filler here, and I think I'm gonna get her on this one. I guess that's why they call it body work and not body easy. But you can see most of it's getting on the floor again. So hopefully one more time here. Like I said, I'm not looking for perfection right now. Just trying to get the bulk of it and get my epoxy on today, hopefully on the front fenders and this front cowl piece. So we are ready for paint. Just wiped everything down and ready for the epoxy primer here. I already found a dent I missed on this fender up here, somewhere around in there. But I'm gonna have many chances here to get that again. So not really worried about it. You see what I got there. So finally ready for these to go into epoxy. So I'm gonna mix up my paint and we're gonna start spraying this. Probably have to wet my floor down because these fenders are really close to the floor there, and I don't want all kinds of debris blowing into the epoxy. So I'll have to get the hose out too here. So the epoxy is all on. 3 coats I put on these. Looking pretty good. Everything except for all the little dents and stuff that I missed. There's a big one right there. I don't know how I missed that one, but we got plenty of time to get those later on, so I'm not really worried about it. Just trying to get the bulk of it here before I put the epoxy on. This is going to have many more layers of primer on this thing, so I'm happy with it. Me and Dad are probably going to get these back on the car so we can start lining up other things like doors and hoods. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.
But what they don't understand is it's the miles that make a man. I wouldn't trade that thing in for a rocket. What they don't know is my dad and me, we drove her out to Tennessee. She's still here now, he's gone.